As we wait in anticipation for the MPC announcement, we now talk to the financial planner to help consumers understand how they're impacted by an interest rate increase and how they can or should manage their finances better without stretching themselves too thin or getting into more debt. Nonhlanhla Nxele, a certified financial planner and founder and CEO of Esteemed Financial Solutions, joins us now to give us more tips on how to stretch your purse. Nonhlanhla, great to speak to you this morning. Well, amidst the chaos of inflation, rising interest rates, job insecurity, rising consumer food basket, consumers still have to meet their various financial obligations. How do they navigate this terrain?
This is really difficult for everyone, including myself as well. The country is going through so much right now, and it is very difficult to look at that incomes as well. They don't even change, or you don't even get salary increases as well to try and cover certain things. So there's only one thing really that I would like to propose for today for people to look at is to go back to the basics. And the basics is really doing your budget on the monthly basis. Know what's happening in your expenses. Know what are your needs. Know what are your wants. Try separate that so that you know how you can manage that. And most people, they know the word the B word saying budgets, but they don't really implement it to help them manage and track what is really happening with their money. So I would really recommend today to say, start with the basics, go back to the basics, do that monthly budget, and that will definitely help you track what is happening with the money that you have.
Well, Nonhlanhla, it's all about priorities. So what goes first from that budget? What do you stop to check off?
The first thing that goes into the budget is your needs. What are your needs? Most people have got bonds, people have got cars, they've got insurances, they've got investments. Those are the things that they need to look at first. They've got groceries, they need to take care of their families, transportation to go to work or take the kids to school. So you need to prioritize in that manner to say there are your needs and there are your wants. And then separate that. So start with your needs. Look at your housing as a whole to say you've got a bond, you've got all these expenses that must go with that. You've got your vehicles. All these things that have to do with your debt repayments, there will be changes into that as well. So you need to readjust your budget and look at to say, with these anticipated increases, how will it affect your monthly budget? Because that will also help you to say, what are the other things that you can start eliminating from your budget that are your wants, that you can deal with and handle with later.
I'm sure you'll agree with me that there's always a temptation to borrow to finance this deficit. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? Is it good borrowing and is there bad borrowing?
Yes, there is. Of course, when you look at to acquiring a house, we could look at that as a good debt. And also, if you were to look at just getting a personal loan because you want to do renovations, you want to fix certain things into the house and so forth. That is bad debt because that could wait until you have saved up enough for you to be able to do that. So I would then recommend that people must really assess their situations, look at their positions, and not just jump into a debt just because they hear a word that they have been approved of a certain debt that they can acquire from banks.
Well, you gave two big words. One of those was B, which was a budget, and then the other one is the S, which is saving. How do you come up with a formula to save and set something aside for that rainy day?
So once you've got your budget right, and you see that there's a possibility of putting something away, some people might find it difficult, and that's where you would get professionals to help you find ways of how you can really manage it to get a surplus at the end of the month. Once you've got that surplus, start putting that money away. So some people would say go into investment, start putting it in an investment. Some people would say start in the bank. But for me, I would say you can literally, if you're not used to a discipline of putting money away for the rainy days, you can start simply by putting small amounts in your bank account open an extra savings account so that you just put in that 200 Rand extra, that's 300 Rand extra, until you get to the discipline of saving. Then once you are able to do that, then we can then look into the discipline of investing for long term.
Now, what tools can consumers use to manage their personal debt? Credit card, do you get extensions on loans? Do you remortgage your house, etc.?
Yeah. So, firstly, I would say when it comes to your credit cards, it is still possible for people to renegotiate with the banks as well. So if you've been paying quite well and you've got a good track record, you can still go back and renegotiate so that you can get a better rate. Same thing with your house as well. The same thing with any other debt that you can get. If you are paying quite well, you can go back and renegotiate those rates so that they are adjusted and they can bring in that savings. And when the savings come in, it is not for you to spend. Use the savings to go back and pay the same debt so that you are able to reduce and kill the interest earlier.
Now, we've talked about cutting back as the primary idea behind surviving these challenging times.
Yeah.
Well, what about the side hustles that have become so commonplace? Is that something that you advise? Do you say to an individual who's a school teacher, an educator, for instance, give extra lessons over the weekend or use
Most definitely. No, most definitely, Hugo. What I would then say, I'd say use your passion, because some people have certain passion versus to their actual job that they're doing. You can find somebody who could be a financial planner, but they've got a passion in photography. So which they can go take pictures during weekends and make money out of that. So side hustle is really another way of really pulling through these difficult times. Even those people that do those network businesses, there are people that make quite a good money out of that. So it is important to go back and say, what is my passion? What can I do with my extra time to be able to generate an income?
Now, finally, I'm sure you've had numerous conversations with people about the month of January, which reportedly has 45 days. How do we start preparing? How do we start preparing now for January 2024?
Literally is to say, as I've mentioned earlier on, to say, start putting that 200 Rand away, start putting that 300 Rand away. You know what your monthly expenses are, you know what your debt is. Start saving that money. Actually try and work out how much you're going to need for that January month. Put a plan in place to say, if it's, for argument's sake, you need 10,000 Rand, how much can you start putting away in a bank account or in a savings where you can be able to say, this is my January money that can make me survive? Because like you said, it's 45 days, it's 90 days, it's very long. So because people forget that when they get paid in December quite early, they get to make sure that they forget that they've got 2 weeks that they need to maintain themselves, plus the January as well. So it's important to save now. Just as much as 200 Rand, 300 Rand, putting that together can really help you a lot in January. That could be a backup plan.
Nonhlanhla Nxele, the CEO for Esteemed Financial Solutions. Appreciate your time and certainly those ideas this morning. Well said.